Back at home, feeling misunderstood, and between these ears ain't nothing good.
Now let's transition away from the NBA and let's talk about the other really happy thing that we get to talk about, the NHL and specifically the Avalanche. As we're recording this, the trade deadline I think passed a couple hours ago.
Yeah, what a wild trade deadline. We had a very wild trade deadline.
It was strange because, and I made a little bit of a joke about it on our Twitter. Follow us at FEOTB Pod. But the Avalanche Twitter teased we're going big fish hunting today. And it turned out that the big fish were two guys that had been here before, and Patrick Nemeth. I think they got him from Detroit.
Yeah, Nemeth, we got a deal yesterday,
yeah.
and then
this
today
morning,
we got the Soda Man.
Soderberger's back.
Honestly, you know what? I love the moves.
Mm-hmm.
I am in love with the moves because...
But are they big game hunting?
We big game hunted with Devin Dubnyk.
That one was the big game, but it wasn't the ones that they were talking about today.
Right now, look, we didn't give up anything for those guys, too. The players we gave up were guys in Colorado Eagles organization and draft picks. Right now, draft picks, like I said, don't matter for teams in the Cup or in the Cup race. Avs did exactly what they needed. They are right now at least 9 to 11 deep. I can maybe count a few out on the forwards. Defensively, now with Nemeth stepping back as well, we have great depth on the defense. And now you have 3 goaltenders that are outstanding. Grubauer's been playing outstanding. Johansson has been playing great. That poor man just needed to get out of Buffalo. And now he's been playing well. And then throw Dubnyk in there. Grubauer is your number 1, but I am very, very confident in all 3.
No, and this makes sense because this is what we've been saying throughout the last few months that we've been talking about Avalanche hockey, going all the way back to our appearance on the Tell It As It Is podcast. If they can get a goaltender, Grubauer, I'll be honest with you, coming into this season, I did not think Grubauer was the kind of guy that will be able to steal you playoff games. I thought that you were going to have to rely on the team around him. This year, he's a tried and true, probably going to be a Vezina finalist, especially with his wins. He has the most wins as a goaltender in the NHL right now, where he's tied for first with Vasilevsky, and he has a 9.23 or something goals against average at this point of the season. He's been incredible. And now we're going to be able to rest him a little bit going into the playoffs, which is even better. And when you have a guy like Dubnyk, which it's really funny to see the local reaction when we signed Dubnyk, there's a lot of people that are still very salty about that
Minnesota Wild series
playoff
back in
series
2013,
yeah.
me included, because I remember when he came in for I think it was Bizgalov at the time, and we were up I think 2-1 of the series, and then they made the goalie change, and then it got 7, and
that was back when it was Landeskog, Duchesne, and McKinnon.
Yeah, and Wall was the coach.
Yeah, Wall was the coach. That's the funny thing is that we're still holding that grudge, and that was McKinnon's first year.
And O'Reilly was on the second line too, right? O'Reilly was the second line.
O'Reilly was still there too. Wow.
Yeah, it's been a fat minute since that. So you know what? If we win the cup with Dubnyk as a backup goaltender, all is forgiven. All is forgiven.
Or just it's very similar to when the Broncos brought in Romanowski. You hated Romanowski when he played in any other color but orange and blue. But when he played in orange and blue, his methods were effective.
Exactly.
Now that Dubnyk is going to be in the burgundy and blue, burgundy and blue, because burgundy is a shade of red.
Yeah.
I had a brain fart there for a second. It's probably going to look pretty good. I'm
Yeah.
probably going to enjoy it. And,
Yeah,
and I'm going to forget about the fact that he made me cry in 2013.
Yeah, look, Joe Sakic's a fucking genius. Let's just put that out there.
Please let me see. I want... It's never going to happen. I want to watch him negotiate a deal live. Because
the buffoonery and the blasphemous deals that he gets for some of these great players, like what Sakic has done, like on the ice for the Avalanche organization, he is we call Todd Helton Mr. Rocky. Well, right now I'd say Joe Sakic is Mr. Avalanche. He's the guy that brought this organization, that came over from Quebec and played his whole career here and was the staple of this organization. And now he's doing it more even for the organization to bring another cup here. Sakic is an absolute genius.
Yeah.
I am so glad I got you off that train of the hate train.
That was more just hate by association and the fact that he's the GM, and then I still really... Bednar's been okay this season. He hasn't given me anything to really gripe about, but I still am on the fence about how I feel about Bednar. It was just by the fact that he was standing close to Bednar that Sakic caught a few of my bullets. I was also very, very pissed off. I exploded. I needed a full 2 hours before I should have been banned from our Twitter for 2 hours before I was able to actually give my thoughts on that game because it was not okay. But he's made up for it. Let's just go through what they gave up to get these guys. So they brought in Nemeth and Soderberger and Dubnyk, and what they gave up for all of I don't have the details of the Nemeth trade, but for Dubnyk they gave up Greg Pacherin, who I believe is on the Eagles roster.
Yeah, he was a fringe defenseman for the Avs, but that's nothing.
And the 5th rounder, which the 5th rounder is going to be absolutely worthless.
Exactly.
And then for the Carl Soderberg trade, we gave up Josh Dickinson and Ryder Rolston, which I believe are another two
Eagles players.
So.
Two guys that aren't going to catch the roster. Right now, look, like I said, the Avs are there's a championship team.
Yeah.
And we're not in the market for building the Eagles organization right now. Either you're a part of this team right now and you're ready to win a cup, or you're not. There's no in between. When it comes to the big teams that win championships, their farm systems are nothing because you give up the farm to make sure.
And you just continually build around them. Every now and then, you don't really give up your first round picks because you can always rebuild. You don't want to completely neglect the draft.
You don't want to auto centers yourself.
Yeah, don't do that. Please don't do that. I finally got to see them in action last week on Wednesday. I watched them play the Oilers. Oh boy, that's that can barely be considered hockey. I don't even. Boomer, you're causing so much trouble today.
I mean, the Senators, man, look. That's where the whole Sakic's the genius started from. Mm-hmm. Because the haul we got back from Duchesne, literally the day after we traded Duchesne, our season got better. And we got better as a team. It was like, it was that moment of where, like, you know what? We got to move on from him because he's been a sore in our sides all season long. Move on from him and go with McKinnon, Landy, and Ranson being the stars. And look where we are now. Yeah,
and look where Matt Duchesne is not. He's not even playing in Ottawa anymore.
He didn't even play in Ottawa past the year.
No, it's this team that Sakic has assembled this last few seasons of Sakic as a GM is teach tape for somebody like it's a different sport.
It's
like
what they teach in marketing class when they're trying to get a deal done.
This is a Harvard sports management level assignment that we're seeing taking place, and it's incredible to see. He's one of those rare guys that him and I think maybe Ozzie Newsome are guys that had maybe better executive careers than they had playing careers. And
I don't know about that yet. Maybe eventually.
If he wins 2 cups as a GM, I don't know what you.
Yeah, but we're not. We're at 0 still currently, so we're not there yet.
No, but it snowballs after 1.
I know, but he also is one of the greatest hockey players of all time. He is a top. He's a top.
He was the captain for his entire career.
Yeah, he is not surpassed that yet. Trust me, he's not there yet. But he has a chance to be one of the best GMs that this state has seen in a long time.
I'll allow that. He's definitely outdone Elway since the Elway had the Super Bowl.
Yeah, that's the one thing Elway has over every other GM so far. Until the Avs win a cup or the Nuggets win a Larry O'Brien, that he's won a ring here. So as a GM, so that's all he has above him right now.
Do you put him higher than Connolly, or where do you put Sakic?
I put Sakic higher than Connolly. It's 1A, 1B though. It's not like it's those two. I'll give Patton the benefit of the doubt because it's his first year.
We don't know anything.
We won't count that yet. 50 feet of crap, and then the guy who manages the Rockies.
He'll be coming up a little bit later, and I'm gonna put his name in it because I want his name associated with what he's gonna get coming up. But I do kind of want to talk about, like I said, I got to watch the Oilers play the Senators, and can we just thank our lucky stars that we don't have to watch hockey like that anymore? Because as good as the Oilers are and they dominate the Senators, I still see such a difference in their defense and their penalty kill. They're gonna get waxed by whoever comes out of one of these other divisions.
The Knights and the Avs, when they play each other, that is some of the best hockey you'll watch. And then every other division, I feel like maybe you can include Toronto into that conversation because they're.
I think if you there's going to be a clear difference between a Toronto and Edmonton game. But I think maybe the Lightning and the Hurricanes is another...
Yeah, or maybe Florida, because Florida's been playing really well too.
It'll be interesting to see what Florida can do in the playoffs because they're so young and they don't have as much depth. But I would say Avs and Knights are the closest of the top 2 in their division. followed closely behind by the Lightning and Hurricanes. The East is just pretty stacked throughout, and everybody is on the same footing. Ottawa gets the shit beat out of them by everybody in that division.
It's true.
That was the whole lead up into that Oilers-Senators game, was Ottawa really just has not found a team that they do well against this season.
No.
And everybody loves playing the Senators. And I mentioned Connor McDavid in my Beats of the Week last week, and he came out and had a 5-point game against them. It was 4 assists and 1 goal, so it didn't help for the beat that I told you guys to put down, because I said he's going to win the goal trophy, and he got the 5 points that he needed, but it wasn't the 5 points in the right category over to try and get to Austin Matthews. But Austin Matthews played the Senators, I think, the night after, and he scored like 5 points in that game.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous what the Senators have become, but it's also ridiculous to see how bad some of these other divisions are, especially near the top.
Oh, no doubt about it.
It's going to become very interesting towards the playoffs, because I think if you're looking just at the standings, the 2 teams that are going to make it out of every division, the East and the North, are going to be very low seeds once they reseed everybody for the final push of the playoffs.
Yeah, I think when they reseed them all, it's going to be very, very interesting. The other big news, obviously, out of the NHL was the Foligno trade. I think it's a really quiet deal from Toronto. Foligno is captain for Blue Jackets for a long time. I think he deserves a push at the Cup. And Toronto may have it finally this year, but we say that every year, so probably not. And then Taylor Hall getting traded to Boston. That's a good move. It's a good move, but Taylor Hall, as one person that people put so much hype on, is Taylor Hall, because of what he did in his MVP season. He has been trashed the past few years. I'll be honest with you. If we're basing hype off of his MVP season, then if you expect him to play like that for Boston, you're wrong. You're not getting that same Taylor Hall. You're getting a completely different Taylor Hall, and if Taylor Hall cannot take a back burner to Pasta and Bergeron and those front line for Boston, then that's going to be a failed experiment. I mean, look what happened in Arizona. He did nothing for Arizona. Arizona could have been a good team, and they faulted last year. He went to Buffalo with Eichel to pair with Eichel, and that was one of the worst pairings I've ever seen in my life. So Taylor Hall may not be the right answer for anybody at this point until he's able to take a step back, because he's still trying to act like he's the best player on the ice, and he's not that anymore.
It's strange that he doesn't get the same reputation as a guy like Laine or Pierre-Luc Dubois, guys that were known headaches in the locker room. He's been in Arizona. He was with Connor Garland, and in Buffalo he was with Eichel, and now
Phil Kessel too, especially in Arizona.
Yeah, and now he's going to be on this perfection line, which is not the best line in hockey anymore, but it was at one point this season. I really doubt. Like, we were wanting Taylor Hall to come to Colorado after the bubble, but seeing what he's done and kind of looking back at his history in the league, I would be very wary to trust him in my system. He's the kind of guy that comes in and ruins chemistry, and for Boston, a team that's had 2 COVID breaks in the matter of 3 weeks, that's not going to be good for them, because they're still trying to find their consistency as their team, and then you're adding another piece, possibly a very volatile piece. Who knows if Taylor Hall's really the issue wherever he's been, but it hasn't been good, and he's the common denominator in all of it.
Yeah, it's going to be an experiment, because I don't think Taylor Hall lasts there.
It's going to be the season, and that's it, probably.
Yeah, although Buffalo, man, you got to get people out of Buffalo. Get Eichel out of Buffalo here in the offseason. That poor guy.
It's going to be, that's the other thing that we could learn about this. If he comes into Boston and turns into
the player he was in New Jersey.
If he, or even just becomes, like a really good, solid role player like we thought he was going to be up in Buffalo, it's definitely something to do with Buffalo's management at that point. And I agree with you at that point as well. Get Eichel out of there, because I want to see him at his full potential. Yeah. And apparently nobody can hit their full potential in Buffalo. Other than Ryan Miller way back when.
Early 2010s, late 2000s.
It's not been great there, and you were on Two for Chirping. A lot of the people that I've had on Two for Chirping think that that's going to need to be a wholesale ownership change, or just honestly, a philosophy change starting at ownership, where they have to do what they do with Buffalo.
Honestly, I know Buffalo is a big sports town with the Bills and everything, but honestly, might look to possibly move them, because New York already has 3 4 big teams. They have New Jersey, or that area. They have New Jersey. They have the Islanders. And they have the Rangers. 4 teams in that area. Why not possibly move that team? I mean, it would probably be bad because of what the Bills have done in that city, but people don't care about hockey in Buffalo.
It would be strange if they do end up doing the ownership change like everybody thinks they should. There's probably a good chance that they do get moved out of Buffalo. Right now, they're only based out of Buffalo because the same family that owns the Bills owns the Sabres, and we saw them tarnish both of them for a very long time. And what we've seen recently with the Bills turnaround, that ownership family basically just went, okay, we realize that we
just going to the Bills.
No, they're like, we realize we suck when we make decisions, so we're just going to let the people we put in charge make the decisions. They didn't do that with the Sabres. They continue to have they're Jerry Jonesing the Sabres very badly right now, and I think if they go with a laissez-faire approach, they'll stay in Buffalo and probably get better. Or if they sell, I think that they're probably gone because Buffalo is not a big enough market to where you can justify.
Especially, like I said, especially with those teams around them.
Yeah, and there's other places that enjoy hockey more.
You could go back to Quebec.
Yeah.
You could possibly go back to Quebec. You could go back to...
There's honestly a big chance that Arizona ends up being the team that gets moved too.
I think what Arizona's done recently, I think they're more of a chance of staying because I remember when that was happening because the arena has been so shit, and that's one of the reasons why. Because when we moved to Glendale, they were like, "This organization has to move," and blah blah. But there has been a resurgence of hockey in Arizona. I will say that people are getting behind it more because. They've done renovations to the arena now, and now there's a big youth hockey movement, starting with Austin Matthews, who's from Arizona and played hockey in Arizona. Yeah, so that's one of the reasons why I think Arizona might stick around for a few more years. I think Buffalo is an organization that we could see moves though soon.
Yeah, I think Arizona, because I talked to one of my good friends who lives in Arizona, Garrett, who was on my Center of Attention podcast. I asked him why hockey isn't as big in Arizona as it probably should be, especially with Matthews being the number 1 player from America. And he said that they don't really advertise in the places that like hockey in Arizona. Like they don't really advertise in Scottsdale, and the fact that they have to drive a long ways away from their house to get to a game, they don't really sell tickets that well at that arena.
Yeah, when they moved the arena to Glendale and out of the Suns Arena, I believe it wasn't too long ago, that's when things kind of went downhill for them because people were like, man, is this Arizona Coyotes, the Phoenix Coyotes, and they were just going back and forth with all that, and I think it's growing slowly down there. I think Arizona has a foundation, I feel like, because Gretzky was a partial owner, and they have had some like presence of hockey in Arizona. Buffalo, however, they have never done anything ever.
Yeah, no, I think all I'm saying about Arizona is that they probably put this arena in the wrong place. They probably should have had it closer to Scottsdale, and then they'd be selling a lot more tickets. The 2 teams that I see quickest to be moved, and there's one in Canada, one in the U.S., and it's Buffalo and it's Ottawa. Those are the 2 teams that are probably going to end up getting switched around. It probably makes more sense to have Ottawa end up moving back to Quebec and see about that. But we'll see what happens with that. At least we got some good big moves for the Avalanche, and there were some other big moves around the NHL that make it a little bit more interesting because it was getting. I talked about it with Griffin on last week's episode of 2 for Chirping, which you can catch the new one coming up. There's a possibility we get some collaboration with the Belly Up Sports Network as well. It's not confirmed as we're recording this, but you can catch the new episode Friday. We're getting kind of burnt out playing the same teams over and over and over again. The trade deadline now we get to see people in new uniforms, so it reinvigorates you a little bit.
Yeah, it's like I said, the regular season is just a long stretch. Got to get through it to the postseason.
Please, please, please don't let the Coyotes steal the 4th spot in the West because I don't want to see the Avalanche play them anymore. They play them all the damn time. All right, let's